welcome to the podcast. Today we're going to talk about the 3 things that make a designer different than other designers. I think this is important because those of you who are listening who are trying to become designers, I think that very often we're like worried that we don't have a style or that no one's going to know who we are. So I thought if I could talk to you guys about this, that you could get these things if you're feeling like, I don't know how I am different than anybody else, okay? And they're easy and hard at the same time, okay? So number 1, what I need you to do is start finding your style. Now you might say, oh, Carina, I don't know how to do this. Guys, this is simple. This is very, very easy. It's simply design, 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 design. Style comes from doing the work, okay? Now, how do I know this? I know this from experience with myself because I used to be like, I don't know if I have a style, because I can kind of mold myself in a lot of different ways. But the more I put myself out there, especially if you went to one of my Instagram feeds, like if you went to Carina Gardner Ink Club or you went to the Carina Gardner Instagram feed, you would very much see a style. If you come on my YouTube channel, you see, the way that my house looks, and you can see kind of the styling that happens as I am talking on the podcast or a video, right? It tends to be, and even in my clothing, right? The things I tend to choose end up being very similar in style. We might not be able to say what our style is in a few words, but very often we have it, whether we know it or not. And a lot of it comes from sheer repetition, okay? So that's actually really cool that happens. I've also seen it with my designers. The other day I was doing a mentor meeting. Someone couldn't attend, but they had turned in their stuff. I opened it up and I was like, oh, I already knew this was you, even if I hadn't seen your name on it. And she was like, I feel like I don't have a style. And I used totally different colors. I was like, yeah, but I could tell it was your stuff. And it's just sometimes the way we draw our lines, the way we use the curvature of a line, the way we post our focal point, how simple or how complicated we make something, the way that we shade something. It's like a hint into who we are as a creative artist. It's just right there. And sometimes we can't explain it with vocabulary, but you'll see something and you'll be like, oh, I know exactly whose style that is, right? So don't get stressed out. And especially those of you who are modeling at the beginning, because modeling happens for designers. You're modeling, you're trying to find your style. Just produce, because the more you produce, the more you're going to find that style, okay? The second thing is, what kind of value as a designer do you bring to the market? Now, this one's a little more complicated, and it has everything to do with, what markets you're in, okay? So for example, you might have a style, okay, and it very much correlates to your value, right? Let's talk about, I'll talk about my Cricut and silhouette files, okay? This Christmas, I don't know how it happened, but I had a video go viral. It was a big fat surprise. We had been at the same number on that Instagram feed for a very long time. And it was my gingerbread house jumbo ultimate project I had done. Now, I did that project a very long time ago. I did a very small project. When I say small, it's still an ultimate project because it's big, but cut on the Cameo. And then I did it in the Pro just to see what would happen, right? And it went crazy. Everybody watched that video. And the thing is that I look at that project and it's very, very detailed. There's lots of little gumdrops everywhere. There are darling little peppermints, and you can see where the cute doorways are. And there's a lot of the front roof is red and white, and it has like a scalloped edge on it. And the thing is, the value I know I bring is that I love clean lined things. I like clean in general. I mean, you guys have been in my house with me on YouTube. You can see a lot of it is white. I like clean lined things. But what my value is that for me, because it's part of my style, is I love the details. So everything's clean, but there's all these details, like lots of little tiny details. And that's where that complexity comes in my work. And that is something I really love. If you look at my fabric lines, if you look at them really, really carefully, you'll notice they're actually very clean. And instead, what I've incorporated is all these little details. Maybe it's manipulation with color, maybe it's a manipulation with the way I shade, but I know that is me. And that's the value I bring as a designer. I know that I can make something that seems almost very simple appear very complicated because I've added all of these details, okay? And so I know that about myself, right? What's the value you bring as a designer? What are you bringing to the table? Is your stuff so beautifully shaded that they have a very distinctive look, right? Like I think about golden books. Do you guys love golden books? I love them. You can tell the artistry in them, that they're like they're hand painted or charcoaled or whatever the technique is, but you get that feeling from that look, right? So what kind of value are you bringing to the table? Because you're bringing something different, right? Different than anybody else. And it can be as simple as what I was saying I do, which is simply bringing in really clean lines, but bringing in a lot of complexity by simply adding more shape. There are several artists out there, and oh my gosh, there's so many good artists and designers out there, you guys, that I adore and love. And what I love is that every single one of them brings a different value to the table, something a little different that if you're not paying attention to the details, and as designers, we have to be big picture and we have to be detail oriented. We have to be both, which is really hard to do, which is why there's those of you who are doing this, like you have a superpower. Like you have a superpower. So go after it, look at the big picture, and then find all those details, okay? So as you're evaluating designers' works that you love, what are you noticing? What's the value? It's different than style. Style is like kind of seeing the way they use line, like maybe they use no line, maybe they're flatter, maybe it's the shading. Value is more like, what do I bring to the table that really is so different that I can maybe even verbalize that is really going to set me apart in the marketplace? Because it's not just style. It's like, why would anyone buy this? Sometimes like I see designs that are a little too simple, and so that's a style. But I don't feel like there's a lot of value given because anyone can do it, right? So if it's so simple that anyone else can do it, how is it adding value to the marketplace? And that's what I'm really talking about here, okay? Okay, number 3 is the hardest thing ever. And I didn't think it was hard until I started talking to thousands of designers, which I do through my boot camps and free trainings and all of that. And then, of course, all my designers. You guys, confidence. Guys, it is so important as a designer that you lean into what you do and you are confident that what you do is something that is important in this world, okay? It's not going to make world peace happen that I know of, but it still brings something very powerful to the world. That artistry brings something powerful, even the stuff you do when you're a beginning designer. So I need you to be confident. The designers I want to work with, the designers that end up on my design teams, the designers that I'm creative directors for, they are confident in who they are. They know how to call themselves a designer, and they're confident in their work and their colors. And if they have a question about it, it doesn't come off as like, oh, I'm not very, I'm not sure. It's more of like, listen, I made this piece. I really love it, but I'm having an issue with this in it. Like the colors are not jamming together. Notice how these two things are not working. That's the designer I love working with. That's the designer I want on my team because they can identify that something's wrong, right? And, some of that just comes from good training, right? Mentorship and training. But like you look at it and you go, oh man, that's it. That's the thing. There's something off with it and I don't know what. And then you have someone else look at it. You have your creative director look at it. You have, a designer peer look at it, and then they can identify how to make it better, okay? But that's very different. The way I just went at that is very different than someone who is not confident, right? Someone who's not confident would say, I just don't know. I don't know if it's good enough. I don't know if it's like, we've got to get away from those words. We've got to get away from that, because the designer who's confident is going to not be even thinking about whether it's good enough. The confident designer looks at the work and goes, how can I make this better? And if you can shift your mind into, instead of saying to yourself all the time, you know, I don't know if this is good enough to put out there. Instead, how could I make it better so that I know that it's good enough to get out there? That's a shift, okay? So those are the 3 things I see in designers that I want to work with and that I can tell they're ready to make their mark, that they're doing things differently than anybody else out there because they know what they're doing is important. The work they're doing is important to them, and it's important to the people who are out there buying it, okay? Artistry, commercial art, that's all a designer is, okay? All right, you guys, I hope you liked this episode. If you liked it, I would love for you to leave me a review. Reviews are the lifeline of podcasts, so if you could leave me a review, I would appreciate it so much. I can't wait to see you next time. Hey, did you know that you can visit me at makeanddesign.com to learn more about this podcast and join my VIP group for weekly freebies? I can't wait to see you there.